Hi everyone, I'm trying something a little different today. As you can see, to begin with, I'm not wearing my hat because it is almost 9 o'clock here, almost 2100, and if I have a hat on, it puts the upper part of my face in shadow, which would not be a good look. So now you see the real me. I maybe shouldn't be jumping into this after a long, busy day, but it's gotten so I don't feel like it's been a productive day unless I do one video on 1906 and one video on 1921. And this is a little different, so I was going to go ahead and do the diary entry for the 3rd of January, and then I saw that in the course of doing a translation for the person who's writing the biography of Dmitri, instead of sending him and doing a full translation, I did some summarizing. And then I looked at my scans and I couldn't find, I have to have it, otherwise I wouldn't have been able to do this summarizing, but I couldn't find my specific scans for January 1921, so I'm going to have to rectify that. And meanwhile, this is partly summary and partly actual diary text, and I should have enlarged it because now I can't see, and I'm wearing a spare pair of glasses because I've managed to lose 2 pairs of glasses in the last 3 or 4 days. Well, okay. I'm not going to spend a lot of time, so my friend Ed sent me a link to a family tree for the Radzivills, and I have not gone over that yet, and I'm just going to skip it for the time being. It will certainly have to be included in the annotations when the diaries are actually published, but for now, no. And also the family of the Metternichs. I'm also not going to, there were several of them mentioned in Dmitri's diaries, and I'm not sure which one it is that he's referring to today of the ones I have in my notes, and again, I'm just not going to dive into that today. Well, okay, here we go. 3rd January 1921, it's a Monday. Dmitri is still in Monte Carlo, staying in room 237 at the Hotel Paris, and he took a walk in the morning with Maria, the Polovtsovs, and Dolly Radzivill and May Dubasova. You remember May, I think, from previous diary entries, and they posed for a group photograph. So that was the one that I referred to the other day, where I could see that something had been affixed to the diary page and then removed. And so I probably do have a copy of that photograph. I need to go have a look on my microfilm reel for that time period. Okay, and so then he was in San Ramon at the Polovtsovs villa in the afternoon. He had tea with May, Dolly, and Papa Dominic, and that evening he had dinner at the home of Gavril and Nina, so Prince Gabriel Konstantinovich and his former mistress, who he was now married to, Nina. Antonina was her Christian name. And he notes the people present there for the dinner were Maria and Gulia, the Polovtsovs, and Shagubatov, who had just arrived from Paris and in fact was staying. Even though he was Dmitri's adjutant, he was staying at Gavrusha and Nina's house or villa, whatever it was. And afterwards, they all went to the casino where I lost, he writes. That's a quote. So he's had very good luck lately in previous days, but now it looks as though maybe his luck is going to change. Okay. And then he concludes that diary entry also by saying that the dinner that took place at Gavril and Nina's led to the episode with Andrei. Okay, so we're getting to that. Okay, the 4th of January, a Tuesday, Dmitri, Papa Dominic, Maria, Gulia, and the Polovtsovs got into 2 automobiles and went to Nice to visit Bichette Radziwill at her villa. And Dmitri writes, there were many people there, including her 2 sons and La Duchesse de Metternich, who is apparently the daughter of the old Duchesse who is always with Ina. So, end quote. So Ina was the Queen of Spain and a granddaughter of Queen Victoria's, born an English princess. And I think her name was Victoria Ina. But anyway, she was married to Alfonso XIII. So this Metternich Duchess is the daughter of the old Duchess who is always with Ina. And I thought the Metternich females were princesses. I don't see anything about them being duchesses when I took a quick look online. So if any of you can fill me in on that, I would be grateful. I saw that Princess Pauline de Metternich or von Metternich, who died later that year in 1921, was quite a character. So take a look at her if you get a chance. Okay, so continuing the 4th of January, the summary. So they all went back to Monte Carlo from Nice, but they stopped along the way at a mountain monastery and church that Dmitri says was 2.5 kilometers off the main road. It was called Notre Dame de Laguet. It's spelled Laghet, and they wanted to go there because there was a wonder-working icon of the Virgin Mary. So they stopped to see that. Dmitri wrote that he found it quite original. Original, his word, is his word, and that he admired the primitive wall paintings that depicted various disasters from which the Virgin had saved those involved. So the 2 words there that are his are original and primitive. And again, he put a photograph in the diaries, and so I'll look for that one as well. Okay, so he liked going to churches, and he loved organ music. He would sometimes go to Catholic church services just to hear the organ music, or also to hear the choirs. Okay, so they're back in Monte Carlo, and Papa Dominic falls ill. He's had this day out, and unfortunately when they get back, he falls ill. He gets sick. But the whole little group has tea in Dimitri's suite at the Hotel de Paris, and then Dmitri and Dolly went to the casino, and he reports that he lost more money. So watch out, old boy. You need to quit while you're ahead or only a little behind. All right, what happens next? So 5th January, this one I quote him extensively. I think I have translated most of the diary entry. But it starts out, it's a Wednesday. Dmitri wasn't feeling well, but he decided to go with Maria and Mimi Polovtsov and Dolly for a dance lesson at the Monte Carlo Palace Hotel. So that makes me laugh a little. He was a very, very good dancer. But the girls wanted to go, I guess, and take a dance lesson, so he went along with them. Okay, and then he goes back to his hotel, which is the Hotel de Paris and not the Palace. And he writes, when I went downstairs, so he's been in his hotel room, and then he writes, when I went downstairs intending to visit the ailing Papa Dominic, I met a pale and agitated Andrei on the staircase, and he ran up to me. He was in such a state that he couldn't even speak coherently, just repeating, "I'm in such a state, Dmitri. I'm terribly upset and just can't take it anymore." Naturally, I led him to my room and asked him why he was in such a state, and then he began pouring out his bitterness and resentment with respect to the infamous dinner and saying it was a deliberate insult aimed at Malya and him by Gavrusha and Nina, etc., etc. So I'm going to break away from that quote for a minute to say something that I should have said at the very beginning, which is I was wrong in the last, my comments on the last diary entries. Maria had gone up to Andrei and Malya at church, at a church service. And they were thrilled with that. They were thrilled that she'd gone up to them. I don't know if she said hello or nodded to them. It was during the church service, so there couldn't have been much of an exchange. And I concluded from that, and also from the fact that that the two of them were in church together, Andrei and Malya, that they'd probably gotten married. And lo and behold, obviously they had not. They had not gotten married, and Andrei is so upset. And the thing that has precipitated it is that he's found out. I don't know if there was any secrecy involved, but he knows at any rate that there was this dinner that Dmitri and Maria went to at Gavril and Nina's villa, and he and Malya were not invited, and he takes this, in Dmitri's words, Andrei takes it as a deliberate insult aimed at Malya and him by Gavrusha and Nina, etc., etc. So let's continue on with quoting Dmitri again. This whole section that I'm about to read is Dmitri, his own words, and he says, I started telling him, so Dmitri started telling Andrei, I started telling him that that was not the case, that no one involved in the dinner had had the slightest notion of shitting on or offending them, but he insisted that it was so, and, of course, brought up the matter of Maria not wanting to receive Malya. It reached the point that Andrei unexpectedly proclaimed with respect to Malya, I can't keep living this way anymore. I simply don't have the strength, and I'll end up marrying her. My nerves are in such a state that I am incapable of working, and the minute Kirill renounces the throne, his birthright will pass automatically to you. Here I began to try to calm him down, and while acknowledging that his life would be much easier if he married, I dissuaded him from taking that step. Wow, it's really getting dark now. So bear with me. This is such interesting stuff. So we have here Dmitri using some language that we're not used to hearing from him. He's obviously very upset by this, and he tries to convince Andrei that they had no intention of, as he says, shitting on him and Malya. Okay, so, he didn't shy away from language like that, but it wasn't typical. So clearly he was upset, and it's so interesting what Andrei has to say about this, that he feels this tremendous pressure and he just can't take it anymore, living this way with Malya, with the two of them not being married. And he's waiting for Kirill to renounce the throne, and for that birthright, as he calls it, to pass to you, meaning to Dmitri. So Boris was out of the running completely. The middle son, the middle brother, Kirill, was the oldest, then Boris, then Andrei. And so the next person, as far as Andrei conceives it, would be Dmitri. And so Andrei is just waiting, he says, for Kirill to renounce the throne. And then he's going to get married. And, and everything will go to Dmitri. And yeah, that's rather strange, isn't it? I mean, I don't know why Andrei would need to wait for Kirill to renounce the throne. Why doesn't he just renounce the throne himself? Maybe he thinks it will bring out the stubborn side of Kirill. who for some reason they're all expecting that Kirill will renounce the throne, and maybe he's afraid if he marries Malia, then Kirill will not renounce the throne because he doesn't want it to go to Dmitri. I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. So Dmitri is trying to dissuade him. Okay, let's resume with Dmitri himself. My position is a terribly difficult one. If I start pressing Andrei on the necessity of marrying and legalizing his relationship with Malia, then she herself will end up slandering me to Andrei, telling him that I only want him to marry so that his career will be ruined. Okay, let's stop there, because there is a need for commentary at this point, because earlier on, Andrei had told Dmitri that the reason that Malia herself did not want to get married, that he was happy to marry her, but that she didn't want to get married because she was, I think, as we all know already, a very ambitious woman, and she wanted him to be in the line of succession, and possibly, apparently, she had a notion that if Kirill was to renounce the throne and Andrei would be the next in line, then maybe, Andrei could just say, well, I'm making the rules now, and I'm going to marry you now. Good Lord, I don't know. That's speculation on my part. If any of you can provide more details on any of this, please do. Okay, here we go. The last paragraph in Dmitri's words: when Andrei left me, he was far from calm and muttered something about an apology to Malia, which should be made by Maria. Wanting to avoid further drama, I simply did not reply. Otherwise, the only answer I could have given him was a punch in the mouth. All right. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. He has a temper, but Dmitri, that is, but going back to when he was 14, he was working on his temper, if you recall, if you've been reading the 1906 diaries. He was actually working on not losing his temper and not getting angry at people. And so apparently it paid off. He didn't tussle with Gulia when Gulia made Maria cry. And now he's not going to punch Andrei when Andrei suggests that his sister, that Dmitri's sister, owes Malia an apology. Okay, so good for him. And then a last little bit of summary. This was a long diary entry, so I have here in my notes: after that encounter, Dmitri, now in a bad mood, not surprising, had lunch with Sofka Polovtsov at Orest. Then the two of them went to the casino, quoting Dmitri, where, of course, I lost. Okay, end of quote. He had tea at Papa Dominic's bedside. Andrei turned up again before dinner and asked Dmitri to have lunch with him the next day. He talked about trying to find an exit from the situation, and quoting Dmitri again, naturally, Andrei's sole thought is that Maria must receive Malia, but because Maria has resolutely decided not to do so, that's where things remained, and Andrei departed with neither bread nor salt. I love that. I love that last line. It's so, in its way, it's sad, but it's also poetic. And I have to say, I don't remember him using that in any other instance in the diaries or his letters. But, those of you who are interested in Russian history and Russian culture know that the traditional greeting among the peasants and just in general, you greet someone with bread and salt. And that is how you show them your hospitality, that they're welcome, and you extend your hospitality to them and you honor them with that. But this time, Andrei gets neither bread nor salt. He has to depart without those things. I don't know if Dmitri agreed to have dinner with or lunch with him the next day. Kind of sounds like he didn't. But, as angry as he is, Dmitri is not the kind of person that wants people to be upset and hurt. So he is going to work on resolving this. Have no fear about that. All right, so I hope you've been able to see me, and I'm going to end with that, and I'm going to find out, hopefully, what I did with my diary entries for January 1921, and I'll see you next time. Bye.